All right, in this video we're going to discuss how to take this metric part and lay it out in a drawing. So what we're going to do down here is I select the little plus symbol down in the bottom right hand corner and I come up to create a drawing. Now I'm going to go ahead and looking at these options here. I'm going to go to ANSI drawings, and this says inch. Now we're generally running in inches. I could go to the ISO templates, but we're not finding any in here, so we're going to go back to the ANSI. We're going to select the ANSI drawing and we're going to say OK. Once we get into that ANSI inch drawing, I'll show you guys how to change the unit settings so that you can have dimensions set up in millimeters. Okay, once that opens up, what we need to do is we need to actually get parts onto this drawing sheet. So what we'll do here is we're going to then, with this setup, say select part or assembly. And if for some reason that disappears and it's not there, and this is closed too, say you're on a new sheet or something to that effect, you can click this button, Insert View. Then it comes up to the Insert View dialog. We go ahead and hit Insert View, and then we can come up and find our parts. All right. Now, what I'm finding is that what seems to be the easiest way to handle this is to create a single sheet per each drawing, and then submit PDFs or try to bind PDFs later with a PDF writer, and/or submit individual drawings. For now, at least, as I learned OnShape, and you learned OnShape as well. So for now, we're going to go ahead and select our part. Right now it's set scales 1 to 2, and we actually want that to change. We want that to be 1 to 1. So we'll go into here and set this up because we want to go largest scale possible without losing detail off the pages and still giving room for dimensions. So we go ahead and we set up these two views. That's going to be my front and my top. And then it's already set up here on my projected view. So I'm going to project from the front over to my right side view. And I have the 3 views that I need. Now, maybe it's me, I like to open back up my sheets over here so I can see my part, my front, and my top, and my right being projected from that. Maybe that's just coming from Inventor and seeing my browser. Next thing I'm looking at is I need to go ahead and turn on my hidden lines. Those have not been turned on. So I'm going to go ahead and select the front view, and I'm going to right click on that front view. Whoops. Sure what's happening. I'm going to hit escape here to finish that up. I guess I was projecting still. So hit escape to get out of commands, and then hit my right click on front view. And notice here this runs off the page. This at the top here actually says show hidden lines. It's above tangent. So what I'm going to do is to see if I can get this to happen again. If I right click on the right side view here, now you can see where show hidden lines is located. And if I select it, we should start to see hidden lines pop up here. There they are. So just be aware that depends upon where you are selecting, the right click option may not be seen. It might run up off the page. It's just something I figured out. So go ahead and I hit that, show hidden lines here. Same thing, show hidden lines. Now that came down and was able to select the hidden line. So that's set up, that's good. So next thing that we need to do is we need to go ahead and add center marks. And one of the other things that I found out with the center mark tool is when you drop a center mark on the outside edge of a circle, you can see it only makes this small little center mark. Now, unfortunately, the other thing I found was there's no way to extend this. There's no way to change the settings from the research that I've done. So what I found is what seems to be the industry practice is to find a 2-point center line here from the top bar, and then basically draw in 2 lines that are going to be the center mark lines for the circle. So we still need to get this to extend past the edge of the object. I'm not going to get into measuring how far they're extending past the edge, but a center mark should extend past the edge of the object that it is marking. So that's the correct way to start your center marks. Now as we come down here to do center lines on these holes, I'm going to go ahead and use edge to edge center line tool. That's going to work in a very similar manner where it's going to drop a center line directly in between 2 hidden lines to create that center line. So with this particular feature, I'm probably going to center line both of these because the hole extends all the way down through the bottom. Okay, so now we have our center lines and our center marks set. We're ready to start. So to start dimensioning, first thing I'm going to do before I change anything is I'm going to go ahead and grab my dimension tool, And I'm just going to place one single dimension across this view and drop this in position. And what you'll see here right away, this is 2.52. This is not in millimeters. So the way to change this, you could actually go ahead and select each one and get into the properties of each one of these drawing these notes. Not necessarily what I would recommend doing. Whoop, come on. Click, right click, edit, and come over and change this inch to millimeters. Now, this can be done, but it's going to be very time consuming with all your dimensions. This little wrench over here, the drawing properties, is where you can change the properties for the entire drawing. So with this setup, what you can do is come over here where it says units, you can pull down inches and change it to millimeters. With that setup, that changes immediately, and you can see 64 is the depth of this part. So with that set, we can continue to move through and start dimensioning the remainder of our part. So we're going to go ahead and start pulling dimensions across our drawing here, still remembering that what we want to do here is try to keep our dimensions in between the views here. All right, we really do not want to be sending dimensions all out into the outsides of these views. We want to keep them tight in between if we can. However, what we don't want to do is clutter these views more than they need to be. So if I were going to pull this 57, that's running across the part here. Probably better practice is to have 57 come down and actually drop this on the bottom of the part. Same way for this 10 millimeters coming across the side. Better to pull all the way across and keep it inside this part. Pull it in between the views here. All right. So I'm going to go up and I'll grab my dimension tool again, and now let's go ahead and we'll dimension the diameters these holes. We could go ahead and pull these up. We could also tuck these down here. But I'm going to just go ahead and pull this up top here to get this up out of the way, because I know that I'm probably going to need to pull some more information, more dimensions down across the part. At least going to have to give location information for these holes, and we'll go from center mark to center mark, and keeping these things down here is a great spot to put that. All right. Okay, looking at this dimension here, this 20 millimeters, you can see that it's running into its own arrow, or the arrow for the 41. We're going to go ahead and keep the 41 now. We're going to move this around a little bit, and the arrows do tend to clean themselves up a little bit. So don't be afraid to drag your dimensions around to try to get things to clean up and be a little more tidy. You can also see, if I zoom in closely, to get them to line up. As I move this 16 back up, you're going to see a small, well, maybe see a very small dotted line that'll show up here to help align your dimensions. You have to be very careful and specific when doing that to see that. So I'll go ahead and continue to dimension this part, grabbing the different sizes as needed here and positioning those. That little dotted line does pop up, and it does become a little more noticeable the more you run the software. So what I am finding is I like OnShape. I don't necessarily like some of the lagginess that occurs, just because it's a web-based system. But it does seem to work quite well for what it is that we're doing right now, being as a remote classroom. So it's definitely working out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add a few more dimensions here. Pull this out a little bit because I need to let this be set up. Now, this part is symmetrical, so what I could really do is set up a center line that's going to run directly down through all these parts here, and then I know that these run right down through the center. I don't need to give any more dimensional information then on the location of those holes. So a few more little dimensions I'll place on here, and then we'll talk about how to PDF this and then how to get this submitted. Now, if I were to pull 11 across here, again, not bad practice, but I can also place it inside the part here. It's a nice clean dimension area to do so. So we'll go ahead and drop 36 out because it'd be easier to do this than pull it all the way across the part again. All right, so with this dimension, this is probably pretty close to being set. Let's go ahead and just see here, if I were to do a projected view of my front over here to the isometric view, obviously that one-to-one's not going to fit. But could we go ahead and set this up to change these view properties to make this a say 1 to 2 and set that up so we can have an isometric view right now. And we'll go ahead and hit that green check, and so we can see that isometric. Now you see the hidden line showing up behind here. This is really more of a wireframe. If we were to make this a solid, you can select the view, right click on the view, and then come down and hit show, no, wait a minute, where is that? Show shaded view. And when you click on shaded view, you get a shaded view of the part. Still hidden lines are showing. Again, we could go in and we can toggle off the hidden lines so we can see that as a solid. So that's nice and clean, and this is ready to go ahead in PDF. So setting up a PDF is pretty simple. Down here we have the Part Studio, the drawing, and an assembly file. Right now we're in this drawing file. I'm going to just right click on that drawing file and hit export. Now the name of the file, I'm going to go ahead and change this. Right now I'm just going to call this metric part. All right, and the format's going to be PDF. Now, I think DWG might be the first thing that pops up here, but just pull this down, go ahead and select PDF, and the rest of this can stay put. Don't have to change it, and hit export. For being prepared, and it will receive a notification with its status. So my metric part pops right up as a PDF. And now I'm ready to have a PDF writer. What I can do is just continue to PDF parts, layout parts, PDF them, and then I can go ahead and bind them together in the Combine Files tab, which we've done before. If that is something that you do not have as a PDF writer, just go ahead and submit the sheet separately. There is a way that you can start working through OnShape when you want to go ahead and start adding additional sheets. That is an option here, yet I found that the could be a little bit more confusing to deal with adding additional sheets here. When you do add an additional sheet, that sheet does pop up. The title block is not the same because this is an ANSI specific ANSI style title block that does not give all that information from the front cover sheet or from the front page that you see here. So it's a little different. The other thing that occurs is that you need to save versions in order to pull parts onto that cover sheet. So what I'll do is when we get into further sheet sets, we'll jump into that a little bit further, especially as I learn OnShape more and more. All right, so hopefully it gets you through this first assignment, and we can continue to explore OnShape together.